We live. All right. Welcome to the Pardon My Jerk podcast, everybody. The only podcast on the internet where the host doesn't know how to operate a microphone. Apologies to everybody last week. I'm super bummed about that podcast because genuinely in my Fab Five dream team, my favorite podcast we have ever done. I thought it was spectacular. And we sound checked and everything before the podcast started. And I don't know what happened, but as soon as we started recording, it sounded like Gene was inside of a terrarium. So I'm pretty bummed about that. Stay with us. We're going to bring Gene back because he was an incredible guest, and there are going to be more guests to come too. So they're going to go better in the future, I promise you. So stick with us. Hi, Dunk.
What's up, man?
Sorry, I need to get that off my chest. That's been bothering me all week. And while I'm apologizing, I owe Sam Quant an apology for a podcast 3 weeks ago where I just trashed him, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm having autoimmune issues." So
yeah, he had a pretty
my
good
bad,
reason.
Sam Quant.
Pretty good reason for struggling.
Yeah, and I realized that. I never said anything about it. But anyway, I digress. We're moving forward. This weekend, probably, I would say the most anticipated semifinals weekend of the season. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was definitely up there. There was quite a few good events that went down this weekend.
Yeah. I think two very strong events. I'm so freaking bummed that Atlas Games is online because, and it's probably for the best that it was, because I probably wouldn't have left my couch for 3 days if I would have been able to flip back and forth between West Coast and Atlas Games.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame. I really wish like some of these guys would have got to, like, the field for the Atlas Games was just as impressive as the West Coast Classic, if not more.
We're gonna all right.
Like,
go ahead. Go say what you're
there's
saying.
some like top level games athletes at the Atlas Games. Guys that have proven much more over the course of their careers than in the West Coast Classic. So
Atlas Games was like similar to MAC, and then it was very top heavy at the top with just heavy hitters, and then it was like 10 dudes where you're like, he could be something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, oh, Dane Smith. Let's see if he's got it this year. You know,
Dane Smith sat in first place after day one.
That blew my mind when I saw that. I'm like, what universe are we in? Dane Smith is in first and Brent Fikowski's in 15th. And then I think they flip-flopped.
Yep.
Yeah. But let's talk West Coast, because I watched pretty much every minute of West Coast classes this weekend, even a substantial portion of the teams. Invictus was impressive. I still don't give them even a swing at Mayhem, but they were very impressive.
There's almost no reason to watch the teams at this point because we already know who's going to win.
Yeah, there needs to be some changes to the team format. Team can be a tough hang sometimes, man. It can be a tough hang because just given the structure of the sport and the way it operates, it's like, you know, you got to be in it to watch an event that's 16, 17, 18 minutes long. You know what I mean? And sometimes that can be a tough hang for a team.
But those could also be the coolest workouts to watch too. It's like if they're done correctly.
Sometimes
they also could be the absolute most confusing thing to watch.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. And the way they're written, you're like, what the hell is going on? But that's what I was saying. I don't know if you listened to my solo cast I did where I talked to the microphone for 40 minutes by myself, but one of the things missing from the game, and you see it at the games level, but you do not see it at the lower competition level almost at all. And the games needs more of this, but implements that we can use that involve the entire team fitnessing at the same time. So we can have awesome 8-minute workouts.
I mean, they've got the worm, but they don't really have anything else that they use consistently. Every year they bring out something that's like, oh, this is cool for this year, but then you'll never see it again.
Right. So like you see the worm and they just pound the worm into the ground. And it gets to the point where it's like, if you're just good at the worm, pencil yourself in for a top 8 finish.
Yeah.
You know, like Mayhem's extremely fit. One of the reasons Mayhem kicks the shit out of everybody is they you just can't stop them on the worm.
Yeah, I mean
They're
they've
just
been
the best.
practicing
They're just
it.
the best at it.
They've been practicing it for however many years, 6 years now.
Yeah, he's just got Rich coaching people on. He's been doing it since 2015. So, but like the big bobsled is awesome. 2019, we saw them do team rope sled pulls with the big bob. I thought that was fantastic. I mentioned in the previous podcast the row erg that we used at our competition,
Yep.
where you throw everybody on the rower and they have to operate in synchronization. One of my favorite implements I've ever seen. They need that at the games.
Have they thrown these guys into like a canoe and just had them row? Like they've got that lake there. They haven't done that yet, have they?
Or like a big, like, I'm so tired of paddle boards, but just put them all on one paddle.
Oh my God, dude. That would be a disaster. That's
no, they did it. No, they did it. Kind of. They did it in 2015 with a floating. It was like a floating kit. I don't know if you saw it.
I don't think so.
So 2015 event one was the beach for individuals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they sent teams to the beach and they've had like a floating kit, and they had to like take the kit through the water.
Huh.
It was okay. It was slow, but it was kind of cool.
You run the risk of being like just like it just looking sloppy, doing stuff like that.
It did.
Yeah,
it did.
It's like,
but they did. They've done team kit carries. I think they did that in 2015 too. And I think 2018, one guy has to be on the kit and the rest of the team has to carry him.
Oh yeah, but that's
tough.
That. That's tough now though because you've got 4 people. Then they do that with 6 people?
One person can rest. Okay. So one person on the kit.
Okay.
2 people, and then one person rests. Or you can put 4 people on the kit and then just throw weight on the kit.
What did they do at Rogue that year that we went?
Oh, there was like almost that torque tank looking thing where they had to like build it. I didn't like the building and assembling it thing. It felt like a high school
that didn't need to happen.
Yeah, but I like pushing that cart for like. And I think they loaded it with sandbags, right?
Yeah, it was a long distance. Yeah, I think so. It was a long distance.
I'm glad you brought that up because I love that. My point being is if we're gonna make this a watchable event and I think an appropriate test of fitness, we need, I think, as much of that as we can possibly shoehorn into the games. Genuinely.
I agree. And I also like the idea of the team relay events.
Yeah,
where it's just
I like
one
that too.
person at a time.
I like it's one, maybe 2 of those per competition.
Yeah, I agree. It should only be 1 or 2. But those are also less confusing and very fun to watch.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. But just the stuff that's like, because I don't think it's an awesome test. It's fine, but it's not great when it's like, okay, you have to do 200 muscle ups and just break it up as needed. And it's like, this is not entertaining. It's slow paced, and you're basically having someone work really hard for a couple seconds and then take a break. 3-to-1 work to rest ratio or rest to work ratio.
The 3-to-1 thing I don't feel like should ever be at the games.
Yeah, the partition as needed type stuff. I think it's just like anything. Everything's a tool in the toolbox. Everything has a place. I just don't like anything being overrepresented, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I've just had kind of my fill of like the 17, 18, 20-minute workouts where you're kind of moving from one thing to the next. And like they did the workout, day 3 for teams, it was 21-15-9 calorie bike, or excuse me, 30-20-10 calorie bike, 21-15-9 deadlift, partner deadlifts. And then it was 60 calorie bike, 45 deadlifts. And it's like, it doesn't look like that much, but because of the way it was structured, the time cap on it was 17 minutes. It's like, Jesus, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but you can't take anything away from it because then it's like not even a workout.
It's tough to like program those kind of workouts with the bike because as good as they are and as like thrashed as they leave you, they're just kind of boring.
Yeah, machine stuff is generally boring, but it has to be there.
I really like the events where they put it at like the very end. Like the what was acid bath? That was a fun one. That was an awesome one.
Was that a relay style?
No, that was I don't even know if they did that for teams. I know that.
Yeah, I know they did it individual. I don't know if they did. They did something
I don't know.
Similar.
But like that was a fun machine workout to watch because it was so quick and it was like right at the end there. So I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, enough about teams. So let's talk West Coast Classic. That's the big one I really want to make sure we talk about. So first things first, I think there's a few things we need to touch on. Who do we love? Who do we hate? Programming, overall presentation of the event, validity of the test. How do we feel about it? So first things first, who impressed you this weekend?
I think the person that impressed me the most was Bethany Shadburn.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. I mean, I knew she'd probably qualify because she's been there before, but I didn't expect her to finish first, and I didn't expect to feel like she should have finished first. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't leave that thinking like, she kind of just got lucky with a few events.
So my wife and I were diving into this before the event. And I was like, I asked her who her predictions were. And we were kind of going through the programming, how it matched up for athletes. And I was extremely impressed by Bethany Shadburn. But I was like, I predicted Shadburn to win this one. Because if you look at how the programming lined up to the different athletes in the field, you look at it and you're like, Shadburn isn't going to generally, at this level, she will, but at the games, she's not going to knock any out of the park. She's not going to take first in probably anything. However, she really doesn't have any true weaknesses.
Her one weakness is muscle ups. She's not good at muscle ups.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not.
I only know this because she did one of the open announcements like 2 or 3 years ago, and I know this is 2 or 3 years ago, but she talked about being bad at muscle ups before the workout, and then I mean she finished 9th on the last workout this weekend.
Yeah, I just brought it up to check on that. Yeah, I know she struggled with like a lot of shoulder stuff, like her shoulder range of motion and shoulder stability wasn't great. It looks like she adjusted that.
Yeah.
She did really impress me, man, a lot. I definitely would put her in the conversation at this point of like podium talk type of thing.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I mean, I guess you kind of have to. She beat Carrie Pierce, who was in the podium talk. Yeah.
Yeah. And
they won pretty. They were first and second though, pretty convincingly to the rest of the field.
Yeah, Carrie. So it's like interesting because she beat Carrie Pierce, and there was 2 events that I looked at this weekend, and I was like, all right, well, this is just a softball for Carrie Pierce.
Yeah.
It's like okay, well, this isn't even freaking fair, and it's that push-pull event. Anything less than a first place to me is almost a disappointment for Carrie Pierce.
Yeah.
And the legless event. So you knew going into this weekend, they're like, okay, well, Shadburn is unlikely to win. Like, you knew Carrie Pierce was going to blow everyone out of the water on 2 events. And the fact that Shadburn still managed to win and beat her on the push-pull event, I think speaks volumes to Shadburn this year.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't that impressed. It's hard to like not be impressed with Carrie Pierce, but like I just expected her to kind of be at the top in most of the workouts.
Right.
And she was, but I don't know. She just felt like she was kind of there for me.
Right.
So
yeah, it's hard to say I was let down by Danielle Brandon. And I'm looking at it, she's a 5th, a 2nd, a 2nd, and a 4th. Any other event, she's a pretty good shot at winning the whole thing if she puts up those numbers.
She had a first in that too.
I'm looking at it right now. She's are you thinking about that regionals finale event?
Yeah, she won the closer.
Spiegel got her on it.
No.
Yeah, by 0.35 seconds.
Okay.
Are you? I'm looking at
the regional closer, the last workout on the page. Brandon won.
No, you're looking at regional finale. Wait, no, she has no first on here, dude. I'm looking at the scoreboard right now. Okay. It's 5-2, 14, 11, 2nd, and 4th.
Okay.
I mean, we had this issue last week with CrossFit, like fucking up the leaderboard. So we might legitimately be looking at what's that?
Are you on the games website?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was like, it just felt to me in a lot of ways, it's just like she kind of felt like she was almost like sort of coasting. Like I was like waiting, like when's the point where you're gonna blow me out of the water? Because I know she's insanely gifted.
Yeah.
And from what I've gathered, it seems like she's a little bit of a head case. You know, I didn't love on that triple G chipper that she kind of took one on the chin there. She goes to the finish line and she screams out, kind of, you know, I needed some fucking chalk. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Danielle Brandon was the only person on the floor with sweaty hands. You know, it's like, dude, that chick, can she jerk over 300 pounds and she couldn't handle the 70-pound dumbbell?
I was like, what are you complaining about chalk for? It's a dumbbell. Like,
and you're going overhead.
yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't in love with that.
Yeah, I don't like the ones that throw temper tantrums at the end of workouts, even if it was just, unless the only one that I would have been okay with was Emma Carey at the Granite Games.
It's like, yeah, first of all, you are a child.
Yeah.
And second, like you had good reason to be pissed at that one. Yeah, I didn't love that. And I think that kind of shit, go ahead and pencil that person in for not finishing in the top 10.
Yeah.
I think like those outbursts, like letting the event control you instead of you control the event, forget it. That feels too competitive. They're going to eat you alive with that shit.
I agree.
You know, so it's hard to say I was unimpressed, but I just think she has so much room left to grow because she is such a gifted individual.
She's still relatively new. She's only been doing it. I mean, I don't know how long she's been doing it, but she's been on like the CrossFit Games scene for what, 3 years now? So we could call her relatively new still.
Relatively, I guess.
I don't know why, but I was unimpressed with Danny Spiegel.
Well, I didn't love that she just said fuck it on the ruck run. I mean, I'll give it to her. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I bet you she was at that point concerned for her own safety, you know, but
it was hot.
She put up a first, a second, a fifth, 2 sixths, and then 8 a DNF and still finished in 4th place. So
yeah,
against some really tough women.
I mean, she had great finishes all the way across the rest of the board, but watching it just didn't feel that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. But you know what, man? Sometimes that could be a hallmark of a veteran athlete executing it the way they need to, right? Like we saw, it was, you know, twice we saw Noah Olson fire out of a cannon this weekend in classic Noah Olson fashion, and it didn't exactly end the way he would have liked to as well.
Right.
You know, so maybe her coasting to a degree. I mean, and you know, you look at push-pull, that event where it's really going to come down to, oh, I see what you saw with Danielle Brandon's score.
There's an arrow.
Yeah. Any hoozles. That push-pull event, I'm looking at a woman that weighs 168 pounds and is 5'6", and we're throwing deficit handstand push-ups at her. It's not going to be a strong event for her. And she managed to control the damage to get a 6th place finish. That's, you know.
Yeah, no, you're
that's
right.
Impressive to me.
You're right. But the sled should have been like that. It doesn't like offset things with the sled, but the sled was definitely more in her favor, even though that torque tank is weird.
I don't know if we've talked about this yet, but
torque tank drives me freaking nuts, man.
Dude, I don't know if we've talked about this yet, but you know, it seems like we had this grand experiment that was the torque tank this year, and it feels like it is falling on its face, dude.
I hate it, man. I hate it so much.
Oh man.
I don't understand the idea of it's like, oh, if you push harder, we're gonna make it harder. Like what?
It's what an assault bike is, or an echo bike.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it harder. It's harder because your legs die faster, but like the bike itself doesn't make the resistance go up because you're going faster.
Well, it does because the faster the fan spins, the more air you're moving and you get more resistance. So the difference is on an assault bike, you get paid off for that. Whereas like on the torque tank, it doesn't pay off to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So the Echo bike, from what I understand, is a little bit more linear in the exchange on calories and distance, where the assault bike, the more you crank it up, you can really get those calories going. Whereas the Echo bike, you don't necessarily get quite the same return on it. So, but my point, actually, I digress. So every time there's a torque tank event, whoever wins the heat, Nikki Brazier has him on the sidelines, and she's like, so what'd you think of the torque tank? And they're like, yeah, wasn't that bad. It's like, if you go hard, it's difficult. So I just kind of go at like a moderate pace. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
and that
no.
drives me nuts. That drives me so
Rogue is
nuts.
just like, oh no. I mean, that's a well, I know it's well over $1,000 a piece.
Look, man, that the torque tank can be fine. Just have set resistances where like you can set it before the workout.
Right. Yeah. I think it's like a really cool affiliate piece of equipment.
Yeah.
I
It's a
don't
good training
love it,
piece.
but the problem is it's $1,200, and it's like, well, I'd rather just spend $150 and just get a sled.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
did.
about the torque tank experiment this year.
I think it failed.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But while we're still talking about these women, I'll be honest with you, man. Outside, like, I would say the top 6, meh.
Yeah, Matt is right. Yeah, there wasn't much.
Sydney Wells was awesome for a while there. She was a really, really cool story. And then and she's climbing up the leaderboard and some really impressive finishes, and then not a strong day 3 out of her.
She started off bad. She had a good like middle few events. I thought it was just impressive. There was at one point she was in the top 10, which I was like, okay, she's done what she needed to do here.
Yeah. Well, Dunk, I don't know if you heard, she qualified by accident.
Oh yeah, God.
Every heat, you heard that.
At least they had something to talk about in these heats. Half the time we're like, oh, let's introduce every one of these people and like get their backstory because no one has a clue who they are.
Yeah, right. Like I would have appreciated. It was like outside of the final heat, it was like they would talk about Allison Scudds was a cheerleader, and like Allison Scudds was the cheerleader. The Wallen woman, I think, was a cheerleader. They would talk about that a lot, and it was like Sydney Wells did her first Open this year. Like,
yeah,
I mean, she's been doing CrossFit for a long time.
Yeah,
and she's a certifiable stud. What'd you say?
That ran its course real quick.
Yeah, but I was cheering for Raptis, man. I really wanted to see her get in. I'm a fan of that whole think tank crew. I think they're all really cool.
Yeah.
I think they have a great thing going
workout.
What's that?
She crushed the push-pull workout.
Yeah.
She smoked it.
I was really cheering for Raptis. Now, that's not to say I wasn't also cheering for Huckabee, because she's a 34-year-old mom qualifying at this stage. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And she has one of my it was really came down to a battle of 2 of my favorite names in the sport. Alexis Raptis sounds like the name of a transformer, and Reagan Huckabee sounds like she's running for office in Mississippi. Like, it's the most American name I have ever. Reagan Huckabee.
Oh man, that is true.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get a much more American name than that. But Raptis is still young. I think she's 23. She'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I spoke about at MAC. I think we saw Ben Smith's Swan Song, and I think we saw the same thing here with Lauren Fisher.
I don't even know if you could call it her swan song. I think it was just more of I want to try this because I haven't done it in a couple of years. She just doesn't have it.
Yeah, man. I think there's a larger conversation to be had here about athletes that start at a competitive level at a young age and the effects that it has on your body. And we don't have to dive into it today. And I would honestly want to do a little bit more research before I even want to speak authoritatively on the matter. But there's been some stuff I've seen out there or heard or read of just like the effects of high volume, high intensity training without proper recovery protocols and proper periodization and monitoring when you start in puberty. And
yeah, I
think Lauren Fisher's first CrossFit Games was when she was 18 years old.
Yeah. I think we're in a better position now with the young athletes that we have, knowing what we know, for them to last longer. But back when Lauren Fisher was 18, God, it was just wad after wad, like just run your body into the ground type of workouts, I'm sure.
Right. It just feels like for the last few years here, she's been backsliding. She's been going like in the wrong direction. I'm not going to look it up, but it feels like probably her best finish was probably her rookie year when she was 19.
Yeah.
As an individual,
I
her
would
best
say
finish.
so.
I think her first year at the games she did team when she was 18. But
she was a
I think there's a
rising
larger
star,
conversation here as far as like the effects, like what's happening to you hormonally, what's happening, the effect on your gut biome, like what this level of intensity is doing when you start at such a young age, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd love to speak to someone. I don't think that I'm not even convinced the person exists, but I'd love to speak to someone who could be authoritative on that. Because I think the proof positive here is when you look at gymnasts and wrestlers. So young gymnasts start at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a sport where the training, it's like CrossFit. The training is the sport. And there's a ton of volume that gets thrown at these kids. And a lot of gymnasts, by the time they're adults, they are broken.
Yeah.
They're physically broken. And you see with wrestlers too, man. Like you see so many hormonal issues with wrestlers or another sport where it's just like pound you into the ground, pound you into the ground, pound you into the ground over and over and over. It's so much volume in training. And then, dude, you can see a guy walking past you at the mall and be like, oh yeah, that guy wrestled in high school.
Oh, yeah, they're the easiest person to pick out.
Right. The way they move, like the way they walk, like the stature, the build they have. Oh, that guy looks like a wrestler.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's something that needs to be examined, honestly.
Yeah, but what do? You tell people they can't start wrestling or doing gymnast or being a gymnast until they're like 18 years old? That's like when most gymnasts retire at this point.
No, that's not the answer.
Yeah.
But I think a thorough examination of what we're doing to their bodies, you know, and I'm not a female. I think there's things that happen also with women in that way when they're exposed to high levels of volume at a very young age that guys don't understand. And I don't want to touch any more than that.
All right. Moving on.
So the men's field. Who'd you love? Who impressed you?
Cole Sager. I'm not a fan of Cole Sager, but he had a pretty freaking good weekend.
I think it goes without saying.
I'm going to pat myself on the back.
Holy shit, Cole Sager.
I'm going to pat myself on the back because I had him in my top 10 power rankings. Got made fun of.
Yep. I told my wife this weekend, I'm like, I'm eating my words.
Yeah, man, you guys came at me for him and Travis Mayer, and I'm sitting pretty on those two.
I just want to put the information out there. I think I called my shot on Dallin Pepper. I think he almost snuck in for me.
I think you did mention him.
Yeah, I think when we are making our predictions on who's going to come out of these semis, I think I predicted Dallin Pepper, and he almost made me look like a genius.
Can we talk about your triple crown call with Noah Olson?
Look, man, they're not all going to be home runs. All right, I've made some good calls. I'm closer. I was closer to it, which if I would have said Travis Mayer.
I know.
Yeah. And I did, well, the worst part of it is I called triple crown. I forgot there's 4 legs of the games. I want to talk about Cole. I want to talk about Noah. I want to talk about Sweeney, Morad, Dallin. I want to talk about Spencer. Let's start with Cole briefly. What stuck out to you about him?
He seemed really well-rounded, which is not something that you could say from him in the past. He did great on pretty much every workout except for the final.
Yeah,
it looked like he was really pushing to, like, he wanted to be in that top spot. Like every time I watch Noah Olson, he's like, "Yeah, I'm just happy to be here." But it seemed like Cole wanted to win, if that makes sense.
Going through, Cole Sager has never been a strong snatcher, and he took 5th place in an event that had Tola Moraquinho, which at any other competition is essentially taking 4th place. Very impressive. I like on events that he should have done well on, he executed like legless. Everybody knows Cole Sager's a great rope climb guy, and he blew everyone out of the water. Felt like, I guess not, but and then something like the ruck run. Did you watch the ruck run?
Yeah,
and
I had it on in the background as
right.
I was running.
Something where you saw him sort of stay with the pack the whole time, and then leg that out at the end. That to me
He's got that extra gear that, like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that have it. Like he's got that last like 100-meter kick where it's like, I can give you everything I've got in these last like 15 seconds, and he's done that a couple times.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And the fact of the matter is that dude did a 40-minute workout and still had the mental fortitude to try to go from second to first.
Right.
That was like almost a defining event to me for Cole Sager, because you don't look at that event and think like, oh, Cole's going to blow this out of the water.
Yeah.
That I was so incredibly impressed with his performance on that. And then you look like same thing with push pull, more upper body bicep pulling. He takes fourth on that. There's really not enough that you can say about how impressive his performance was. I think he threw himself into the mix at the top of the sport with this. This was so impressive.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think he was easily the most impressive of all the athletes.
So, your dude Noah Olson, your buddy. I don't understand your problem with this guy, man.
I don't like him.
I'm such a fan of him, man. But I'll tell you why I was very impressed with Noah Olson. Noah Olson in the past, we've seen Noah Olson in the past when he encounters sort of a barrier in an event, something goes wrong. All of a sudden now Noah Olson just sort of folds, right? And what we saw here is Noah Olson had a okay event where he finished 10th in the ruck run, where you look at that and think that's going to be a strong one for him, and he didn't fold, right? He didn't make those signature Noah Olson mistakes that he makes. He came back and he continued a strong performance throughout the weekend. And I don't want to make excuses for anybody, but no, I do know that Noah Olson going into this event was experiencing a bit of a shoulder injury. So the fact that we saw him do well on a handstand push-up workout, taking second place, the fact that we saw him take fourth on a snatch ladder event, I found incredibly impressive that he didn't make those same mistakes and he was able to bounce back while being injured. I think my opinion of Noah Olson has not changed.
Mine neither.
I meant in a good way.
I don't. He doesn't seem like he cares if he wins or not. He's
just a good guy, man.
I don't care if he's a good guy. You can be a good guy and still want to win.
He definitely wants to win.
He doesn't act like it, and he doesn't push. If he needed to go from fourth to first in an event to put himself to, I'm not going to say to win the games, to put himself in within striking distance of being able to win the games, I don't think he'd do it. He'd be like, I didn't want to red line, or I didn't want to step outside of my lane.
The only red flag I saw was that regionals finale, where I feel like he just made a miscalculation, finished 17th, blew himself up on the bike. And I look at that event and think, this is going to be a strong one for Olson. And he was lower middle of the pack on that. But I mean, you take that out, he's competing with Sager.
He had a 10th place finish. I agree with you. He's competing with Sager, but he's supposed to be the guy that takes that. He's the next title guy. He's supposed to take Fraser's spot. I'm don't want to see 17th place finishes and 10th place finishes, and you're kind of just competing with a guy that we didn't even think should be in the top 10.
Fair enough. But
So,
he was injured while you were off taking your bathroom break. He was injured, and the fact that he had a tweaked shoulder, and he still finished 4th on the snatch ladder and 2nd in push pull with handstand push-ups, I think is good too.
okay.
You know.
We'll see. We'll see what happens in a month.
Sean Sweeney doing Sean Sweeney shit. Just Sweeney-ing the place up.
Yeah, I mean, just what can you say about him? He's the guy that you watch. He's the entertainment.
See, you love. He seems like a great guy. He seems like a lot of fun. He seems like a person I would enjoy hanging out with. I like Sean Sweeney. On screen, I find him tiresome.
Well, you had the same problem with Hepner, and he wasn't even as flamboyant as Sweeney is.
Sweeney, I'm like, I get it, man. You want attention.
Yeah, but like Sweeney is at best an average CrossFit athlete. At best. Never finished in the top 10 at any games, but we all know his name.
Yeah, I mean,
he's doing
the guy
something
understands
right.
branding.
Yeah, he's doing something right.
He's not stupid. Yeah. I'll give you that. I think he's a solid. He always dominated that South region. You know,
we've had this conversation before.
I know it's a weak region, but I would say he is. I think you could put him in the top 20. I see no reason why he's not a top 20 athlete. Let me see.
Yes, top 20, but like his best games finishes 24th, 22nd, 30th.
Oh shit, you are right.
Yes.
I thought he was much better than that.
I think he's better now, but he's never done anything at the games.
You are right. Damn. Yeah. So anyway, Will Morad bouncing back from injury. You love to see it. Veteran.
I'm a fan of Will Morad.
You're not.
I am.
Oh, okay. He had some interviews that he's done in the past that I wasn't psyched about, but you know what? Being on camera is hard.
I like. I think I'm a fan of him because he was around, like he was competing back when like Ferning and like the early regionals events were going down. I like that he kind of is still around.
So his rookie year at regionals was 2014.
Okay.
2013, I believe. It was in that there's that Only Three documentary.
Yeah.
And he was there, competed with Rich, Scott. I think Dan was in that region. And then Marcus Hendren. It was a cool doc. If you've never seen it, it's called Only Three. It's an interesting documentary about how the old Central East region was just not even fair.
Yeah, there were some heavy hitters there.
Brandon Luckett, I like that guy.
Did you hear about his little story with he's done after this year?
Yeah, that was a little tired. I was kind of hoping he wouldn't qualify and Dallin Pepper would get in, because I'm like, I don't care. But like,
I thought it was cool.
It's good. It's awesome. The guy's obviously a super genius. It's like what? It's like what are you doing here, man? Go
right. He's just doing this in his spare time, and he's still making it to the games.
Yeah, the guy is like his doctorate in medical physics. Like, go to work, man. What are you doing here?
We all thought Vellner's degree was impressive, but this guy's.
Yeah, so it's because he was another guy I kind of hold it against him because I think it was 2018. He dominated his region and then ended up taking like 37th at the games. He killed me in fantasy that year because I loved him, and he did not perform super well.
These next two are good ones to talk about.
We already talked about Dallin. I want to do just a couple minutes here on a couple more guys I like. Spencer Panchik, I was so underwhelmed by his performance, but then when you look at his scores, you're like, oh, he was actually really good. He just completely bombed one event and had
two events.
We'll say two. He's basically completely bombed two events and just could never quite dig himself out of that hole.
The fact that he got all the way up to the last chance qualifier is impressive.
And watch out for him in the last chance qualifier, by the way.
Yeah, I agree.
I think a strong pick to get one of those two spots.
I agree.
Cedric Lapointe, did not know he was such a what's the word I'm looking for? Flamboyant individual.
Yeah, I didn't either. I don't think I'd ever heard him speak until this weekend.
Tola Moraquinho.
I was a little
60 seconds on Tola.
I was a little disappointed, but I don't know why. I just wanted him to do better because I like him.
No, I'm in the exact same boat. I was so excited to watch Tola compete live, and you're like,
oh man, I was so hoping he would have hit that snatch at what was it, 285 or whatever for two.
Touch and go, 265, I think.
265. Oh man, that would have been awesome.
Yeah,
just like let me flex for all you guys. Let you know that you just have no chance.
Yeah, when I saw him on the floor for that, I was like, holy shit, that's Myles Garrett. Yeah, I was when I finally saw him compete live, and I was all excited. I was like, oh no, he's just a big strong guy. That's it.
Yeah, I mean I think he has a chance maybe a year or two from now if he sticks with it, because like he did okay, but like the ruck round just messed him up, and then the 217th place finishes, but like 6th, 10th, and a third to finish out the weekend. It's not bad.
Yeah. Last one I want to talk about. And I don't have a whole lot to say. I just said I have a new favorite American CrossFitter.
Ooh, who is this?
And that's Matt DeLugos, my friend.
I knew you were gonna go for this guy.
just one for the home team, man. Just out there competing for us big guys.
If anybody had a reason to yell and scream, it was him, because he had to do toes to bar on a bar that was too short for him.
Yeah, man, he's 6'4". The sport is literally not built for him.
How could we not just raise a pull-up bar? Like, how can we not figure that out?
Can't go out there with a couple, like a set of wrenches.
Yeah, what the hell?
But he's real low key. I'm a huge fan of that guy. I just that he's 6'4", but also seems like a pretty good dude. So I'm rooting for him going forward. I really liked him a lot.
We talk about the biggest winner of the weekend. Is this Justin Kotler guy, or
say that? Repeat that one more time for me.
For all these. I said the biggest winner of the weekend is this Justin Kotler guy. Is that his name?
Yeah, he's a underdog athletes guy.
The lead coach.
Yeah.
Girls finishing 1, 2, 3. I didn't even know about him up until a couple months ago when a good friend, the Buttery Bros, dropped a YouTube video on their little training camp. So up until then, I had no idea who he was. But I mean, proof is in the pudding. Girls finishing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and beating Danny Spiegel out too, which is impressive.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and muscling out Danny Spiegel. Yeah, Justin Kotler probably comes out as the biggest winner of the weekend, and Max Al-Haj probably not so much.
Yeah.
Max Al-Haj is the training think guy, head coach. That's his program. Noah Olson looked fine, and then did Kyle Bernier, Jake Berman, Lauren Fisher.
In his defense, those athletes are not as well, like, high level athletes as what Kotler was working with, especially on the women's side.
Right. Alexis Raptis is training think tank. She almost got in, but not a great weekend for training think tank. It's pretty much all Invictus and underdog.
Yeah.
I can't even believe we're having this conversation right now where we're talking in terms of like teams.
I know. It's crazy.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of these little training camps that like these guys are putting together. Like, people are just moving to different states to like work out with these people. It started out with it was just CrossFit New England, right? That did it. Started it out.
Mayhem.
Yeah.
And well, the people that's really started it, if you want to go, it was NorCal.
Okay.
All the crew back in NorCal when you had Jason Khalipa, Garrett Fisher, Molly Vollmer, Miranda Oldroyd, I forgot Kevin Ogar, that whole crew. There's another gentleman that they trained with too. Pat Barber. That whole crew really started this movement before everybody else did. But I'm just like, I was talking to, I think it was my wife or my brother about the West Coast this weekend, talking about these. I'm like, what sport am I talking about? Like, now everybody's affiliated with something, like somebody,
Yeah.
And you're going to see more of it, man. You're going to see a Forged by Zeus team that trains together. You're going to see a Deca Comp team that they all train together. Like,
I thought it was cool hearing Fraser talk about it for like the 5 minutes that he was on, because he's like, I would never ever thought to do this with people that I compete against.
Yeah, let's make that transition. So let's because this is something I want to talk about too, is the production quality of the competition this weekend. Back to Fraser.
I didn't get to hear him too much because what did he do? He did the Triple G chipper.
Triple G.
Yeah. So I was kind of in and out of that one because it's kind of a long event. But I mean, he briefly touched on the training camp thing, and he's like, I would have never even thought about training with people that I had to compete against because I couldn't do it. Like, it was one thing to train with a female, but training with guys that I knew I was going to have to beat long term. And I kind of agree with him to a certain extent, but I don't know.
I think the training I had this conversation. I was talking with my brother-in-law about this, and I was like, I like and hate the team training thing. The good part of it is the best is gonna, iron sharpens iron. Use that wrestling cliche. Like the competing with the best is gonna bring the best out of you, ideally. The bad part of it is, one, we're talking about human beings with human relationships that do human things. And what happens when one dude has a weird relationship with the other dude's girlfriend?
True.
Or what happens when, well, how come Danielle has a key to the gym, but Bethany doesn't? Like that kind of shit. You know what I mean? And the other thing, and Fraser brought this up on the broadcast, was, yeah, we're all about making each other better until like we start getting close to the games, or it's when we get to the games, how interested are we in making sure everybody's as good as possible, and I think Fraser brought it up because if you're cool with that, awesome. And I think the words between the lines on that was like, Fraser's like, no fucking way would I go with that.
I was just thinking, it's like, Fraser's like, if you're cool with that, I already know that I'm going to beat you.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I think the last part of it too is, I think there is something to be said of like the mental toughness required for you to go and suffer in your garage alone every day.
Yeah. And there's not many of those guys that do that.
That's why I almost give it advantage Pikowski and advantage Hopper, because they do that.
Yeah.
And that they're operating on a different mental level when it's not you hanging out with your friends every day.
Right. Yeah.
I get you're pushing yourself further to try and compete with people. That's that one side. But the other side, just like the ability, just the mental toughness required to get in there and bury yourself in assault bike intervals every day.
Yeah.
Alone.
That's tough because it's a double-edged sword. It's like, are you pushing yourself as far as you can when you're by yourself? Are you doing the best you could be doing, or is it more beneficial to train with your friends and try and beat everybody there?
Right. We'll save this for the training camps podcast. But you brought up the Fraser thing, and I wanted to talk about it. And just the production quality for West Coast Classic, I thought was fantastic.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's been the best so far. I didn't watch the Mid-Atlantic. You said that was pretty poor as far as production quality.
Yeah, they didn't really tell a good story with the floor, because most of the time when you watch an event, we're looking at a narrow floor that goes long. At MAC, we saw a wide floor that was short. And as far as telling the story, it was not good. I also didn't like the programming at MAC. But that I thought was fantastic. Tommy was in the booth. Tommy's solid. I don't know who the hell that other guy was. I think he'd never. I was like, where did you find this guy?
Yeah, and it was like they clashed on a few things, and I was like,
yeah, I was like, I love this strategy. We're gonna bring in Tommy Marquez, expert on CrossFit. We're gonna bring in this other guy, never heard of CrossFit. They're really gonna shake things up. But I loved that they brought in Chris Hinshaw for the 6K run event.
Yeah,
because that's objectively an insanely boring event. But when you listen to Chris Hinshaw talk about endurance, you're like, oh, this is actually really interesting.
Yeah, he's the only person that like can make that workout interesting to watch and just listen to.
Yes, I couldn't I could not listen to enough Hinshaw. I was like, just give me every piece of information you have. He's
It's
talking about
insane.
step counts and shit.
Yeah.
Like,
It's insane what goes through that guy's head when he's like talking. Like
he was
when he's
amazing,
thinking
and
about
so was
running.
Fraser, man.
Yeah.
My brother came up to me on Sunday and he's like, dude, they need to just give all the money to Fraser and put him in the booth, because listening to him talk about these events was the most interesting part of the entire weekend. I'm like, yeah.
Dude, Fraser's good, man. And he's like, I like what he's doing, like coming to these events, putting on these huge like workouts for all these people. He's doing retirement right.
Oh yeah. Well, Fraser was sitting there talking. He's like, well, you can only get so fast on a given movement. So, I can sit here and try to do everything in the world to move a 70 or 100-pound dumbbell faster and faster and faster. Or I can just learn how to control the dumbbell on the way down, and I can shave a half a second off each rep that way. The way I look at it, 10 seconds is 10 seconds. What does it matter? I'm like, oh my God, that's why you're the fucking best. Yeah, I just want to make sure we talked about that. What else did we? Oh, programming. What'd you think?
I give it like a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, like a 6.5 out of 10.
6 out of 10. That seems low. I call it B. I would give it a hard B. 7 to 7.5.
I liked what they did. I liked the old workouts. I liked that they got the chance to talk about like how far we've come since the legless 13 workout, that kind of stuff. I hated that we had so many short, like super short workouts. Like it's one thing to like a 6-minute workout's a short workout, but like multiple workouts under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then 2 that are under 3. There's too much room for weird things to happen when you have workouts that are that short.
Well, and the only one that was under, there's only Cole Sager, Sean Sweeney, and Dallin Pepper, whatever his name is, did legless sub 5 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
And then yes, we did have the 2 that were like sub 3-minute workouts.
Yes. I don't like 2 sub 3-minute workouts. It's just like we wouldn't have liked there to be 2 35-minute workouts in this thing either.
Here's what because I do agree with you. I think the assault bike burpee box over D-ball clean one was plenty. I hated the final event. I thought it was awful, but I think that was kind of their way of offsetting the fact that there was no 1 rep max event. I think that was kind of their thought process there.
Well, they didn't go heavy enough then.
Yeah, I think
the weights for that workout are too. They're too light. If they're only going to be 1 lift, and it's like 5. What was it? 5 lifts total.
I think they wanted to be like sprinty. I think my point being is I think in terms of like almost energy systems, like they wanted it to be very, very short, almost in the way a max lift would be very short. It's a little bit longer. It's a little bit more. It is a little bit more lactic than a 1 rep max would be. But I think that was a way like a 1 rep max is 10 seconds. This is 2 minutes. It's going to be short, like the same sort of time domain as far as viewership goes. I think I don't agree with it. I just think that was their thought process.
Gotcha.
I liked the events a lot. I wish they wouldn't have tweaked them. Like that was my big issue. If we're going to do the ruck run, that event was fine. Just leave it alone. Don't make it heavier. It didn't need to be heavier.
I didn't really like the ruck run
event. The push pull event, we didn't need toes to bar. Just make it push pull. Why do we need to change it?
Push pull was one of like the more iconic events.
Exactly.
And we could have got rid of that fucking torque tank.
Yeah, and if there's one event to don't fuck with, that's one of them, because it was an awesome event and one of the most iconic ones ever.
Yeah. Dude, I hated the ruck run. Just to go back on that real quick, just less about the actual ruck run and more about the location of the ruck run.
Just running in like a mouse maze.
Yeah, like what are we like? We're standing in line at a roller coaster at an amusement park.
It would have been cool to see him like run like on the strip, but it's good luck getting the permits for that.
Like I said, they couldn't have just like ran around the building or something. Like,
yeah, I hear you. That makes sense.
It just It was one of those things that it added to an already boring event.
But again, do the Mac thing. Don't look at an event on a microscope. Let's look at the events from an airplane.
Yeah.
And I think outside of the final event was garbage. The 6 events that we had, which most events are 6 events anyway, I think was an excellent totalitarian test of fitness.
How do you feel about the chipper, the Triple G chipper?
It was a chipper that went fast, so that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of over it. I know we've only seen it once before, maybe twice before.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I could have done without that one too.
But chippers are a part of it. Like,
I agree.
They were going chalk on regionals.
Yeah.
So most regionals events. Here's the other thing too. If you go back and look at the regionals events, as I have extensively because we're doing all those events, if they do 7 events like this one does, normally there's going to be 2 events that are back to back and are under 5 minutes each. So normally it'll be max distance handstand walk, 1 rep max snatch. We're going to put them together. We're going to call that event 6. Call them 2 events. It's kind of what they were doing there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They didn't just pick from regional workouts, though.
What's that?
They didn't just pick from regional workouts.
No, but I'm saying sort of following the regionals model.
Oh, okay, I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it was a good all around test, and they didn't try to reinvent the wheel, generally speaking.
I think it was a fine test. I think it was it was a much better test than the Granite Games.
Yeah, Granite Games was stupid.
So
that's stupid, but it was not programmed well.
No.
And here's why, and here's the last thing I'm going to say on why the programming was good for West Coast. And Brian Friend, I'm ripping you off again. I'm sorry, man. But I have to give him credit. Check him out at Morning Chalk Up. He's a really smart guy. He made a great point that I loved so much. If you look at an event, you shouldn't be able to see, okay, I look at this event and Cole Sager's going to take first, Olson's going to take second, Morad's going to take third, Sweeney's going to take fourth, Pepper's going to take fifth. You shouldn't be able to look at individual events and have them mirror what the final standings for the competition are going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I should look at that like when you look at the ruck run, when I look at that, it shouldn't be like when you look at the ruck run, you're like, okay, there's going to be different people at the top of the leaderboard on this event than there will be at the end of day 3 on the total leaderboard.
No, right? I get that. Yeah.
And the thing I like about that is it means we are testing the best generalist. Like you're looking for the best generalist athlete that has no weaknesses.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what I like about it a lot. So, what else? Is there anything else we want to touch base on?
No, I think we pretty much hit everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I really wish that they'd get a ticker for these freaking semifinals.
Yeah, no shit, right? Expensive though.
I know that's tough, but like, especially the one like these big ones. Like I know it's supposed to be like, hey, we're going to get a ticker for West Coast Classic and Mid Atlantic. Sorry, Asia.
Yeah, I was really disappointed to see they didn't have live events in Asia and South America. I think that would be so good for the sport to allow people to attend those things and grow the sport in that way.
Just to see what's like happening.
Yeah, I think it's just good for the sport. It's like going to a concert. It's just a different experience when you see it live, you know?
I think everything next year will be live.
God,
I would hope so. I mean, things are I don't want to get into a COVID talk again, but it seems like things are getting pretty much back to normal. So
no. Let's talk COVID. This is a real fresh topic.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do a COVID deep dive. Dunk, how do you feel about the vaccine?
I'm not touching that subject.
Okay, so let's move into Atlas real quick. Let's do Atlas. I do have something I want to talk about in Asia, and we'll wrap it up from there. This one's going a little long. So Atlas games 1, Vellner, 2, Adler, 3, Cornier. Also 3, Alex Vino. 5, say it, Dunk. Who took 5th?
Brent Fikowski by the skin of his teeth.
Yes. That's the men's side. Women's side, we got Carolyn Prevost, Mackenzie Riley, Bailey Rail, Emily Rolfe, and Sydney Michaelishin. Michaelishin? Okay.
Good job.
Thank you. I've been reading for over 5 years now. Any takeaways from basically the Canada regional?
Yeah, I would say that the men's side is pretty much chalk. Little surprised that Logan Collins finished in 10th.
Yeah, right.
But I feel like that, I don't know what the workouts were for Atlas. I feel like that could be a programming thing, because
No, they were the same ones that we saw last week for Europe. It's the same online programming.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Logan Collins is one of those athletes where it's like, if the programming is just a little bit off of, like, geared towards the heavy side, he's going to struggle.
Yeah, and it wasn't a tremendously, I don't know. And we saw a workout with 300 reps with 50-pound dumbbells. Saw a workout with it was like a half a mile of handstand walking. We saw one with 60 ring muscle ups. I was surprised he didn't do better. There was no 1 rep max. And then we saw Coretto, for all intents and purposes, I have no idea why Logan Collins wouldn't absolutely blow that out of the water, and he took 13th place.
Maybe I
mean, besides the fact that Gretel's a terrible workout for online competition, but go ahead.
Maybe Logan Collins is going the Cody Anderson route, and he's like, I haven't actually touched a pull-up bar in 6 months. It's been lifting.
Yeah. I have to shout out my dude Brent Fikowski. 15th place after day 1, climbs the leaderboard, finishes in 5th place in an event that was not strong programming for him at all. Shakes a horseshoe out of his ass for Gretel and pulls a 4th place at 2 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah, Brent Fikowski with just sneaking into 5th place.
Yeah, he got Christopher by 21 points.
I didn't watch too much of these, so I'm not too sure on what happened with those first 3 workouts, but I know.
Basically, one thing with those workouts, the heavy dumbbell one with GHC sit-ups, I expected better from Brent, but basically when you throw friendly Fran at him, you're not going to throw a much. It doesn't get much worse for him than that.
No, friendly Fran's a tough one for him.
Yeah.
Once this came out that this was going to be an online competition, it was Brent Fikowski had to be losing sleep over it, because that's just not his game.
Yeah, I'm just so happy he got in, and I think the fact that he qualified in an online competition should scare the shit out of people.
Can we give some love to Vellner though?
Let's talk about the guy that kicked the living shit out of everybody in first place.
Yeah, we never mention this dude, and I don't even know why, because I love him.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. He's one of my faves, man. 7th, 1st, 6th, 2nd, 3rd.
Yeah, like he crushed it all weekend.
Yep, absolutely, he did. He was phenomenal. And literally, if he gets 1 more rep on the snatch, that shoots him up on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would probably at this point, now seeing that Vellner's healthy, to me he's the favorite. Him or Panchik.
You keep talking about Panchik. I don't know.
But I guess he didn't take first in his own semi, so I guess you got to call it Vellner.
I would say Vellner. But like I said, the men's it's so far, so up in the air.
Yeah. The guy Adler, I said put some respect on that name. He finished 2nd place by a substantial margin, but 2nd place to Vellner. He had a good one. He's good in online stuff, though. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adler.
I like my boy Sam Cornier.
Getting 3rd. I don't know if that qualifies him as top 10 power rankings, but yes, he did finish 3rd place.
I mean, this is a good field.
It was a very strong field. Absolutely, it was.
So
yeah. Tyler Christopher, side note, another CrossFit 417 team athlete. So he was on team 417 for a few years there. That is now the second 417 athlete who's going to be possibly third that is going to be in this event. How the hell did CrossFit 417 never get a title?
I have no idea. They're a pretty well-known team too.
Oh, yeah, they were very strong. They were always up there, but like that team was loaded, man. Holy hell. Christine Kildebrander from Mac, she was on 417. Christopher was on 417. Don't forget, Jared Stevens was the best athlete of any of them, and he was on 417. That team was loaded.
They were at Rogue one year, the year that we went and watched. I think they won. Did they win it?
No, I thought that was that OC3 that won it?
Yeah, it might have been.
Women's field, anything to touch on there?
I mean, it's not a super strong field.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if any of these girls are going to place in the top 15 at the games.
Yeah. So, I think you look at Carolyn Prevost is going to be a day ruiner for somebody.
Yeah.
Like the fact you look at her, she has 3 firsts and then an 18th and a 12th. Like
she's one of those hit or miss workout.
Right. This is a person that's going to walk home with a $5,000 check in their pocket, but probably not finish in the top 10.
This one's also, it's a tough one to judge because it's online. You don't know. Like,
right.
It's so different than being in a live comp.
Yes.
I would have liked to have seen Paige Semenza do a little bit better.
Yep. Alexis Johnson coming off yet another catastrophic injury, ends up in the last chance qualifier. Mazel tov to Alexis Johnson. So incredibly impressive. And she's a very nice person. I've met her before.
Nice.
She's very nice. Only other thing I want to touch on with that is China Cho, 11th place, man. That sucked.
She's another one where like she probably should have just stuck with team.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I wonder why she didn't.
I don't know.
I'm curious about that. What happened there?
Maybe Rich is hard to deal with.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Another one of Rich's victims. Yeah. So that's Canada. That's such a super strong field. This the only thing I want to talk about here before, and then I want to talk a little bit about the last chance qualifier coming up here soon. We've got the Asia Invitational. And Dunk, I just want to talk to you about the thing that's been the most fascinating thing in my life besides the aliens for the last couple of weeks here. And that's Roman Krennikov. I've listened to several podcasts here recently, and every time Roman Krennikov's name comes up, there's someone that doesn't know about Roman, and there's someone that does. And the person that doesn't know goes, "Hey, is Roman Krennikov going to compete in the U.S. this year?" And that person says, "Absolutely not." And the person that doesn't know goes, "Well, why not?" And the person that does know says, "I can't tell you." And and then the person they're like, "Why not?" And he's like, "You're just not allowed to know that information. I can't talk about it on the."
Nobody can actually figure out why.
What the fuck is going on with Roman Krennikov?
Just can't get a visa, or doesn't want to get a visa.
Can't this guy get a visa?
Maybe he just doesn't want to. He's just like, I want to keep this mythos going of like people think that I would win it if I went.
Yeah, maybe it's like an ego thing, but I did do some half-assed internet research, and basically the only thing I could find, I don't buy this for a fucking second, but the thing I did find was Roman Krennikov doesn't speak English very well. His wife does, so he has to travel with his wife. Okay. Now Russia does not acknowledge CrossFit as a professional sport, so Russia is not allowing him. From what I heard, Russia looks at him like, "Oh, I'm going to go to sorry, I got to Russianize it. I'm going to America to do CrossFit sport." And Russia's like, "That's not a sport. You're bringing your wife. You're going to America to defect from the Russian Federation." And from what I understand, they won't give him a work visa because of that. Because I guess he doesn't own anything. He owns no real property. He doesn't own a house. So Russia's like, "You're bringing your wife. You're going for a made-up sport. You don't own anything. There's no way you're coming back."
I just don't understand. Like, why can't he just hire a translator?
They're expensive. I don't know. Maybe he's just really close with his wife. He just doesn't want to travel without her.
Maybe. I
You
have
know,
no idea.
I was like, that seems so flimsy to me though. Like, and why wouldn't people be able to just say that?
Right.
Like, why couldn't you say that on air? I'm like, was this guy like a Spetsnaz agent or something like that? Like,
Yeah, there's got to be something going on in this guy's past.
if anyone knows, look, we have listeners in Russia. We have listeners in Kazakhstan, Ukraine. Okay. I know you're out there. I need to know what's going on with Krennikov. So anyway, he didn't even win though. He took third. He's doing the qualifier.
Yeah.
Alexander Ilin won.
Is that only no? Stas Solidov won.
Stas Solidov won. Alexander Ilin took second. But that was my only thing. I need to talk. I need more Krennikov in my life. Last chance qualifier. How you feeling about it?
I'm a little bit underwhelmed with it. I kind of expected there to be a few bigger names there, but it seemed like everything kind of went as planned for the most part.
That means good programming, though. It means that the events were programmed well, except for Granite Games, and we see Christy Aramo O'Connell coming out of Granite Games in the last chance qualifier, probably the biggest name. So,
yeah. But other than that, I just expected there to be a few heavy hitters that are like really going to have to duke it out. I think that would have been cool, but I don't even know if I'll pay too much attention to it. Really, I don't know. Probably 90% of the athletes there. So
there's going to be some middle level names. I don't know. I'm going to pay attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, I will too, but the best I can as an online event.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's the best you can with an online event, but I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be real competitive. I think it's going to be a good one. So is that next weekend or we get a weekend off?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Probably should have looked that up before we got on a show. Because I want to put a preview out there. Who's going to be in there? Who we think is going to qualify? I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right, Dunk. Anyway, thanks for jumping on today. For those of you guys listening, thank you for jumping on with us. Give us a follow on social media. Send us some questions. Let me know what the hell is going on with Roman Krennikov, and we will catch you guys next week.